everyone, this is Crystal, and today I have a mood board inspired layout for Hip Kit Club. This is the July mood board, and I know it's actually June still, but I'm skipping ahead because I love this mood board so much, and I was just super inspired by it when I saw it, and I know it's going to go really well with the kit. I'm using the June kit and the photo that I have to scrap today. So this is the mood board that I am basing my layout off of, and the things that I'm mostly picking, at least to start with, are these two and this one. So this kind of galaxy look in the background with a night sky with stars, this mixed media splattery kind of look. That's what I'm going to start with. The photo that I have today is another one from the concert I went to a couple weeks back. It is a random person that we met there. So that's what the photo is. But if you can tell, he's wearing like a full galaxy outfit. Yeah, so that's why I'm going to use this photo for this layout. I have one of the papers from the kit. This is from the Simple Stories Sunshine and Blue Skies. This is actually the B-side, so it's the other side of this one. It's called Let's Escape, but I wanted it for the dark blue color, and I have already put some clear gesso on this. So I actually did a little sample. I took just a little scrap of this paper, and I did white gesso and clear gesso and kind of played with some of the different Lindy's Stamp Gang magical powders and magical shakers to try and see what kind of look I could get. And I preferred the clear gesso, which is why I chose that. So you can kind of see this is the look I'm going for. I've already, because of that, mixed up some of the colors. I'm mostly using the magical shaker. I think this was from last month. This is called Afternoon Delight Denim. And I also have the other two blue ones from this month's kit and the one before. So this is Tilt-A-Wheel Teal and Azure Sea Asters. I may mix in some of those. And then I'm probably not going to use the yellows, but I do have some of the pinks. So I've grabbed the Pink Ladies Pink from a couple months ago, and then this month's Hottie Patati Hot Pink. I'm likely going to be using some of those. I have them out here. I think actually the two of them are mixed in this one, and I tried the Alpine Ice Rose Magical Shaker, and it didn't quite give me the color I was looking for. So that's what I have in my palette here, and I'm definitely going to be using a lot more of that on here. So yeah, that's where I'm starting. I'm just going to get going and see if I can make this work. So I'm going to start by just spraying some water on the layout. Like I said, it's already covered in gesso, so that water is just going to sit on top of the paper and not soak in, which is going to allow me to move around all of this color quite a bit. So I used the magical shaker and just shook some right onto the paper where I had gotten it wet, and now I'm just using a paintbrush to kind of move it around. So you can see there is a lot of pigment here. It's very dark. Which is what I wanted to start with, and I will end up removing some of that and just lifting some of it off because it ended up being a little bit darker than I wanted to for the mixing that I want to do later. So I'm just adding water, trying to move this color around this whole page. I want it basically to cover the page just with a small border, like you can see. And there I did lift off a little bit of it, and I'm going to hit it with a heat gun really quickly just to kind of start drying it before I add more color. I don't want it to mix too much. I want you to be able to see the different colors, but I also want them to kind of swirl around on the page like you'd see in a galaxy painting or in, a night sky. So I'm adding a little bit of the Hottie Patati Hot Pink and just kind of strategically placing it on the page where I think it might look best, and then I'm using the heat gun to move it around and mix it. So rather than using my brush and mixing it completely with the blue that's on the page, by just kind of moving it around with the heat gun, it mixes a little bit and gets that kind of swirly, flowy look that I was going for. So now I added some of the other color as well, and I was going to add some of this blue, but it ended up not looking right, so I go with the other one, and that's the one from this month's color kit, and just adding different shades to the page just to give it dimension and some interest to the background, and then I will hit it with the heat gun again because I don't want them to blend too much, and then I am going to add some of that magical shaker, the one that's in kind of the pinkish
color. It's kind of a corally color. I don't remember the name of it right now, but I do add a little bit of that just because I felt like it still needed a little bit more differentiation of color. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit here and there, and then I am going to thoroughly dry it with a heat gun here in a second. And I don't make you watch that entire process, but it did take quite a while to dry. I had quite a bit of water on the page, but this is what it looks like all done. And now to give it that kind of night sky look, I'm going to add some white splatters. So I took some white acrylic paint and added it just to a little bit of packaging, and then added quite a bit of water to that. And I'm just using a smaller paintbrush to just splatter it around the page. And I'm kind of shaking the paintbrush to get some bigger dots, and then tapping it to get some of the smaller splatters as well. And I'm just going to make sure that it's well covered. A lot of this is just going to kind of soak in, so you aren't going to see it as well in the finished layout. But so I wanted to make sure you could see plenty of white splatters. And that is what the background looks like. It's pretty busy and it looks kind of like a hot mess right now, but once I start adding everything else onto the page, it's gonna make a lot more sense and look a lot better. So that's what I'm doing now. I let it dry completely, and then I did put it under a heavy box to flatten it a little bit. It had gotten a little bit warped. Since this is just regular cardstock and not like mixed media paper or a heavy-duty cardstock, even with the gesso, it did warp a bit. So I just set it underneath a heavy container for a few hours, and it pretty much flattened out. It is still a little bit warped, but it's much better than it was. So now I'm working on the layers behind my photo, and I just grabbed out all of the scraps that I had from this kit. So I've already made a couple layouts with it. I had a few just odds and ends pieces of paper from the papers that are in this kit, and I didn't really want to have to cut into a whole sheet just to add some layers behind my photo, so I'm just making all these scraps work. And this is one of my favorite techniques for layering behind photos. I'm not a huge fan of the kind of concentric layers, the ones that kind of go all the way around and are even all the way around a photo. I do it sometimes when it's a more structured layer or layout and it feels like it calls for it, but in something like this that's just kind of fun and quirky, I really like just kind of adding little bits and pieces behind the photo wherever it looks best to my eye. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just picking up a piece that I think will work and adding it to the back wherever it will fit. So I've added a few layers, but before I add any more, I want to make sure that I leave lots of room for my title and for any other embellishing. So I don't want to add a ton of layers and then realize I don't have space for the other things I want to add to the page. So I stopped, and I'm going to go through all of the embellishments that were in the kit and figure out how I want this page to look. Right now, I don't really have an idea of what it's going to look like in the end. I'm not sure what my title is going to be. I'm not sure what embellishments I'm going to add. So I'm just going through everything and seeing what strikes my fancy. As I go through this ephemera pack, this is the Vicki Boutin ephemera pack that was in the kit, I find a few things that I think might work. So I pulled out that colorful title. I thought maybe I could work that into a title for my page. And then also these little text hearts, because there were those text hearts on the mood board, which I just pointed to. So I thought I should try and work those in. They don't actually end up staying on the page, but I think they could have worked. I just didn't end up using them. And then I thought also that say cheese, but again, that doesn't end up staying on the page either. And neither does the colorful, so I don't end up actually using anything that I pulled out. But yeah, it ends up just fine anyway. So now I'm looking at the chipboard pieces. I found a little tab piece that I added to the top of the photo, and then a couple little phrases. So one says "make me laugh," and the other one, I can't remember, says something about "live for the moment" or something like that. But I really want to work on a title, so I'm struggling right now to come up with a title. So I actually stopped the camera and went away for a bit and worked on a title and ended up kind of Frankensteining something together on my own, and didn't end up using anything as it was. So you can see it there at the top of the page. I used the Chamel thickers, the phrase thickers, the holographic foam ones that were in the kit, and cut some apart and made my own word, and then added a hashtag to the front of it just because I felt like it needed some more visual weight. Not that that hashtag has anything to do with it, but so the title is Space. Obviously, the background is a space background. Space is also the name of a song that they played that night, so I thought it worked all together. It made sense in my head. Yeah, I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense outside of my head, but oh well. This is my page, my creation, so I guess that's all that matters. So now that I've kind of figured out where things are going to go, I had more room for more layers behind my photos, so I just went through the papers that were left and added a few more layers. I did cut up one of the journal cards that were in the cut apart sheet and added a border of that just to give some color behind the photo. And right now I'm fussy cutting another one of the pieces from that cut apart sheet. It says Escape the Ordinary, and it was a square, but I wanted just the little phrase part, so I just fussy cut that, and I'm adding it above my title, and it will actually end up staying there. So I also added some of those circles because on the mood board there were those kind of painted circles. So I decided to add the 3 colorful chipboard circles that were on the chipboard sheet, and then there was one that kind of matched it from the puffy stickers, and I've added that to the bottom corner of my photo. I was just adding a little bit of foam behind it because all those layers behind my photo made it a little uneven, and it needed something to raise it up off the page a bit. So to go with that circle theme, I'm adding these little star circles from the puffy sticker sheet, and I'm just kind of randomly putting things down on the page. You know, it's a sky, right? It's like they're like little planets and stars in the sky or in the galaxy. That's kind of what was going through my head. Again, it makes sense in there. I don't know about outside. Okay, so I finally stuck down my photo. I'm happy with where that is, and I stuck down my title as well. And then I got called away for a minute, so I actually am going to shut off the camera again here, and then I forgot to turn it back on when I came back until I had done a little bit. So you're going to see here it skips ahead a bit, and all I've done is add a black border around the entire layout. So it was looking a little off balance. I had kind of put everything to the left side of the page, and there was a larger gap on the right. So I trimmed down from the right and the bottom a 1/2 inch and just mounted it to some black cardstock from my stash. And then while I did that, I also added just a little bit of a border to the top and bottom, just kind of cut out a bit of the layout and added some lighter paper behind it just to add some interest. And then I also just sprinkled stars all over this page. So there were stars on that Chamel thickers, the phrase stickers. There was little foam stars on that. And there were also stars on the Vicki Boutin chipboard pieces. Both were holographic, so they worked together really well, and I just sprinkled them all over because it's a sky and stars made total sense to me. Okay, so now I'm just adding a few lines for journaling, and I am using a white Jelly Roll pen to do that so that it will show up in that colorful background. And when I add the white pen to the page, it actually ends up taking on some of the color that's in the background, and it actually looks really cool. I think it has kind of a cool effect to the page, so I'm really glad that I did that. So yeah, I'm just going to add a few lines of journaling. And then off camera, I did add a couple more embellishments. I felt like it needed just a little bit more, so I added a couple little camera chipboard pieces as well. And then that's it for this layout. It actually came together pretty quickly. I think the background definitely took me longer than anything else, but there are a ton of close-up photos coming up, so you can see all the little details that are on this page. And I will link all of the supplies that I used, the kits that I used in this layout below, so that you can go pick them up for yourself if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this interesting and maybe got some inspiration from it. If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, I always appreciate a thumbs up as well. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.